Good morning, everybody. Glad to have you here. Thank you for taking a few moments this morning to join me. And we will be just a few moments this morning, actually. Um, have just one verse I want to look at today, and just really going to, again, we're going to spend a lot of time on it, but it's a verse that I do want to just this one verse to pay some attention to one real truth here that don't want us to miss. Verse 5 of Jonah chapter 1 says, Then the mariners were afraid, and each cried out to his God, and they hurled the cargo that was in the ship into the sea to lighten it for them. But Jonah had gone down into the inner part of the ship and laid down and was fast asleep. A lot going on here, actually, that we can talk about. One of them is, again, Jonah's obvious disregard for all that was going on around him. His disregard for the well-being of the ship, the well-being of the sailors, but most of all, his disregard for what God was doing, for what God wanted done. That he was so unconcerned by God's direction and God's authority that he, instead of going to Nineveh as directed, goes down, gets on a ship, and goes in the exact opposite direction from where God had led him. And then he has no obvious conscience about any guilt whatsoever about what's going on, that he can go down into the ship and lay down and go to sleep in spite of this raging storm that is tossing the ship to the point where these experienced sailors, again, not it wouldn't take much to get me concerned and worried on a ship in a storm, but these were experienced sailors, and they're terrified. They're crying out to their God, whoever that may have been. They're throwing cargo overboard. They're scared. But Jonah has no conviction whatsoever over what was going on. And one of the things that was going on, one of the consequences that were a result of Jonah's decisions is here these sailors. And one of the things that, again, we need to just to really stop and pay close attention to. And the reason I wanted to to zero in on this verse and spend a few moments just really kind of putting this thought into our minds is that we understand we all, when we, obviously Jonah is the star of this story. If Jonah's not, the fish is, I guess, but Jonah is the star of the story. When we talk about Jonah, we talk about Jonah and his disobedience. We talk about Jonah on the ship. We talk about Jonah and the fish. We talk about Jonah finally going to Nineveh. Jonah, 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 Jonah. Obviously, and rightfully so. He is the book's named after him. But let's not overlook the fact that Jonah's disobedience put these sailors, put innocent people in grave danger. That his disobedience, he didn't just mess up his life. He didn't just mess up and get himself in trouble. He has now gotten all these sailors in jeopardy. And one of the things that is not original from my way of thinking, I've heard other people talk about this, is in the delay that Jonah, from when God told Jonah to go to Nineveh and when he actually finally arrived there, we know it was at least 3 days. He spent 3 days in the fish. So he got there at least 3 days later than God had intended him to be there. And then not accounting for his original journey to the port, then how long it took him to get from being spit out by the fish to Nineveh. It's easy to say that it could easily have been a week at least that Jonah was delayed in getting to Nineveh. And so how many people died in Nineveh in that week? How many people left Nineveh that if Jonah would have been there a week ago would have heard this message? How many people didn't hear the message of repentance because Jonah was disobedient? These sailors, they're put into a life-threatening situation because of Jonah. Jonah's disobedience, like all disobedience, messes up the lives not only of the person who is disobedient and ends up causing difficulty and trouble and consequences, not only for the one who is disobedient, but for those around them. Hard to tell how broad the influence may be, how much damage is done by our disobedience. Sin does not only affect the sinner. Sin doesn't only affect the person who is committing the sin. If a pastor has sin in their life, fails to be obedient to God, obviously it affects his congregation, it will affect his family, it affects everybody in nearby. Same is true for any of us. If a father has got sin in his life, it affects his children, affects his wife. Same thing if the wife's got sin. The sin is just we can never I think underestimate often the cancerous nature of sin, that how it spreads. We all unfortunately have been exposed to this truth of how someone we love, someone we care about, maybe even some of you get diagnosed with cancer, and the next thing then it spreads, and and the same is true with sin. There's no such thing. We talk about little white lies. No such thing as little sins. No little white lies. And sin is dangerous. We cannot. I hear people say that. So, I'm not hurting anybody but myself. No, if it was only that simple. Sin always hurts others. When we run from God, when we are disobedient like Jonah is here, the storms that come will affect everyone around us. Please keep that in mind. Think about that today. Look at your life and understand that your decisions, your choices, whether you choose to obey God or disobey God, they will have an impact on people you care about, on people around you, on your family, friends, co-workers, neighbors. Hard to tell just how far the impact of our sin may run. Think about it. You have a good day. We'll see you here tomorrow morning.